Welcome back to Gene Key of the Day, and hello to our dragonfly friend who has come back today to remind us just how much transmutation is occurring inside of our cells at this moment in time. So much of this is the access to the breath. We'll be getting back to that. Or more so staying with that. But I want to introduce you first to this new board because this is a fresh thing for most of you. Elijah and I have collaborated on a game, and it doubles as a game and also a tracking of the astrological positions. So we'll be doing some videos introducing you to this, but since we're using it in Gene Key of the Day today and we're going to look at some of the themes, I just wanted to introduce you to this, and stay tuned on the Wonderland Gene Keys website for pre-orders and an insight into what is this all about. You can have one of these. So we just got back from the Into the Core retreat in California, and so much of our time together working inside of the transmission of the Gene Keys was deepening in relaxation and breath inside of our core. And while I was there, I noticed this whole cavern, like a bass frequency, kind of how we always talk about higher harmonies, but it was like lower harmonies like dropped out and opened up and started to resonate in a way that I have 5 planets in Scorpio. I go to these places, but it really opened up. There was a safety and an expansion inside of the shadow realms. And this is some of the themes that we're going to be touching on today. So today we're working with the full moon. That is happening basically today, tomorrow, depending on where you are on the planet. Inside the Taurus full moon in the 24th Gene Key. This moves from addiction to invention and silence. And the sun in its opposition is in Scorpio in the Gene Key, the 44th Gene Key, of interference to teamwork and synarchy. So we are looking at the looping addictive patterns that keep us entrenched inside of fear-based relationships with the world and ultimately ourselves. That's interference. And at the gift level, we're seeing how the powerful possibilities that are available to us when we break these patterns and come into coherent collaboration with each other. To me, this is extraordinarily relevant at this time. So first, let's touch in on this cycle of Scorpio, because the sun has been in Scorpio now for a good, coming on a couple weeks here. And Jupiter as well has now entered its Scorpionic cycle after being 1 year in Libra. Now it'll be 1 year in Scorpio. So the sun and Jupiter inside of Scorpio, the sun is illuminating. Jupiter is expanding the depths. Scorpio is a sign. I'm learning so much about it right now with these planets being there. I can feel so much more access to its nature is to uncover deeper and deeper layers in order to have a more full, passionate, and authentic experience of life. So I have a really great example of a scorpionic kind of situation. The stars shine very brightly at the event center and home that we do our retreats in Santa Cruz. And when we were just there, I'll say I've had many experiences of looking up at the stars and having very potent experience of that light coming and touching my eyes. And while we were there again, I had the intention to go out and have another one of my star experiences. But the clouds started to come in and slowly, slowly covered the sky and the moon. And I was like, Scorpio. The layer of clouds was this opportunity for me to penetrate something, to uncover some layer in order to discover the starlight inside of my being, to acknowledge that it is still there, but I actually needed to implode it inward and find that power, that light inside of me. So that's a very scorpionic kind of thing. So this cycle that we're in, not just with the sun, but this longer cycle with Jupiter, is allowing us to get inside the prima materia of our life and harness some of these, just the energy that's kind of been lurking in these, maybe cloaked in fear and just all of those patterns. So you may be noticing how life is giving you opportunities to get into maybe some untouchable places, some taboo places, some like, I thought this was gone places, but it's actually like, oh yeah, deepening in. And then the full moon today in Taurus. Taurus brings through this energy of self-sufficiency, patching up the leaks to our ship, addressing our capacity of stabilizing our self-worth, and claiming sovereignty inside of the collective. So we're going to be looking at these themes. We are looking at these themes. Okay, so let's get into the 24 and the 44 specifically. As we said in the beginning, we're talking about facing the addictive patterns of fear and mistrust that exist inside of our relationships. So the key word here is relationships. We're cleaning up the space between us. What keeps us cycling in unhealthy relationships? And what does this have to do with claiming my power and actualizing my potential? As you can maybe sense, this material is very heavy. It's like got a serious gravity to it. It's very entrenched over millennia. And so through the power of our breath, through the deepening of our breath, through sober honesty, meeting ourselves exactly where we are, getting really, really honest with ourselves, and the courage and willingness to really go to some uncomfortable places inside of ourselves, we're really tapping an unlimited source of vitality that we can use for the betterment of humanity and just to fuel our mission on the planet. So very powerful energy that we're tapping into here. And one thing I want to layer in here, the last video I did was the Jupiter and Uranus opposition that occurred throughout 2017, that throughout history has been known to be these times of great breakthrough in technologies hitting the mainstream. And there's something in contemplating this, I have noticed that oftentimes we see that like great things are possible. A community gets together with this great intention, or a technology is out there, it's available, it's ready to be utilized. But sometimes we see the crash of these things, or not the optimal use of these technologies because of the dynamics of human relationships interfering with the great idea and the vision just coming through. So I've always pinpointed for myself that human relationships is such a place of power, because if we go there to clean up the mess, it's like the weak point, right? If it's the weak link, if we go there and clean up the space in between us, so much of the intelligence and collaboration capacity to make change on the planet would be available to us. So that's another layer of why this is so relevant at this time, is that some things are trying to make it through. And I'm sure some are. But how to even take this to the next level is to address where we get messed up inside of our relationships. So, in asking this question, how do we clean up the space between us? I think first we need to ask ourselves, what are the addictive patterns that keep me looped inside of interference? So when I ask myself that, I generally see just some victim mind patterns, story loops, I'll call them. So mine are like comparison. I will constantly, or I have in the past, had the tendency to compare myself to others. And so kind of tell the story, oh, they have the power, they have the gold, I don't have it. Or just on and on and on inside of this kind of addictive loop of I'm judging myself through the eyes of others, through my future self, and basically giving my power away through that reflection of, oh, they have it and I don't. Poor me. I have the 18 as my life's work. So that's the victim mind, and judgment is all about the comparison. So this is definitely where I see a lot of my getting locked inside of interference, which, by the way, 44, where the sun is right now, and inside of teamwork, synarchy, interference, is my core. So this is very deep for me. I'm processing a lot of good material here. There's a quote inside of the 44th audio that Richard says, your DNA will output chemical signals that cause you to repress your genius because of external forces, or to excite you into reactivity because of external forces. So first, what I'll say about this is like the knack for constantly proving my unworthiness and these disempowering thoughts is like, oh yeah, I've got that down. 17, oh yeah, I'll prove the case against me all day long, or I have proven that. And it's like this, I realize, oh, it's like literally occurring inside of my cells. I am suppressing my genius. I am, because of these signals of fear and interference, and so of course I don't see my light, but these are kind of old stories. I'm cresting into new planes of claiming my power. The other thing about this is how it really touches on that because of external forces, right? And I had this really awesome breakthrough at the retreat, and it was very much around closing up and patching up my victim valve. And I like that just because of that play in words, the victim valve. But this is sort of like, it's like based in survival, we kind of needed to be victims to have codependence, right? We needed to like lean in on each other to survive in ages past. But that valve of like some old part of our mechanism is needing to close in order for us to actually step into this new level of stepping on the throne and being sovereign inside of a collective. So closing up the victim valve, it's like, oh my God, it has nothing to do with anything external. This is about me. This interference is mine. So this brings in some of the medicine of Taurus right now, and how it, in relation to the Scorpio and the 44, it's super potent because in its higher nature, Taurus really has the capacity to stand on its own, to be self-sufficient. Because if I keep experiencing the interference inside of my life or my projects or little things that come up as things that are like happening outside of me, and I'm constantly like projecting them out, then I'm going to remain stuck in a fear state. I'm not going to address that fear in my relationship with myself and the world. And this internal signal of interference is going unchecked, and I remain looped in that pattern. So closing up the valve is me taking full responsibility that this interference that I'm experiencing is coming from inside of me. And I get to go in and I get to feel it and I get to breathe and relax out of the head into the body. And then I start to feel myself begin to gain lift, which is these concepts that Richard talks about in the 24, of gaining lift outside of these deep entrenched patterns. And I start to stabilize in the levity of coherence. So let's go into the levity of coherence. I really love that phrase. And the shining frequencies inside of invention and teamwork, than what this full moon is activating. So when I track these gene keys and these signs, I am brought to the theme of collaboration. That comes front and center into my awareness and into my certain life situations. I start to see how important collaboration is at this time, and learning how to just do it at higher and higher efficiency and fun and capacity. So I just want to lay out here. Well, first of all, collaboration as sovereign individuals choosing to work in harmony, that sort of creates this self-organizing intelligence that has much more capacity inside of itself and to express and create that it wouldn't have had if it was on its own. So the Taurus side of collaboration is the sovereignty and how it's based in self-worth. This is huge. You gotta know what is your stroke of genius. Really come to identify, this is my gift. I embody my purpose inside of my cells. The activation sequence of the gene keys really help us to do that. This is my self-worth. I build my self-worth, and I'm closing off the victim valves, and I'm getting very stabilized in my own sense of self. Taurus, I'm sufficient. And the merge into Scorpio, the shared reality realm of Scorpio, where it's based in trust and shared resources and the capacity to really open up and let people in and enjoy the merged, this is us reality. So those two sides of things really teach us about collaboration. And we find a balance between, okay, what is mine and what is yours, and honoring someone else's sovereignty, my teammate's sovereignty. And then what is ours? This is a really good contemplation, because both are needed for collaboration to be as potent as it can be. Really good stuff. Thank you for showing up to the journey of your life and being willing to dive into these waters and activate parts of ourselves, parts of yourself, that you're ready to really unapologetically be yourself. So with so much love in my heart, and also some epic pieces of jewelry, I want to show you this beautiful mala that was created by Karen Grace inside of the Gene Keys community. We're going to be getting her website up in the comments so you can have one of these epic ones yourself. Mine is Liberation, the 39th Gene Key of my SQ. As well as these keys, these DNA key pendants that are now available that I have and can send to you. So if you want one, please message me. So much love to you and you. Thank you for showing us the transmutation inside of ourselves when we breathe and relax deeply into ourselves. So much love. Bye. Bye bye.